welcome to a new video. My name is Smriti and today we're going to travel the world through books. Alright, so I love reading books from all over the world. I think that it's important to not only read from your country or the global north, which is where primarily a lot of books are written or read from more than anything. Books are written all over the world and they are very good books. So you should go out and look for some amazing books because they are amazing. Anyway, point is, I read from all over the world. I have set a resolution of sorts where I want to read books from 40 countries. So far, I'm on 23 and in this vlog, I will read from 5 more countries that I have not read from this year. And why I'm doing this is because in August it is a Women in Translation month, which is a month where people read a lot of books which are written by women and then translated into the language that you are comfortable reading in. Mostly it's for the English speaking world. And I just think that it's really fascinating because I love reading like women in translation books in general. So like last year I think I read like about 15 to 16. This year so far I've already read about like 19 I think. So yeah, it's just like a really good time and I really enjoy reading these books. So like just excuse to read more, I'm happy. So as I said, I'm going to be reading from countries that I've not read from this year. So in this vlog you are going to see me read from Ecuador, Morocco / France, Egypt, Slovakia, and then finally from Ukraine. So 5 different countries that I've not read from this year. You are going to see me read a book from there and then talk to you about it and tell you what I thought. So I hope that you like this vlog. I hope that you get some wonderful recommendations. Also, if you like reading translated literature, do follow me. I will also link you to a couple of other videos that I've done where I've spoken about like Indian translated literature, as well as, fun fact, done another vlog where I attempted to read 5 books, which is 1 book from each continent in 24 hours. That was fun. And that was like a start of a series called Around the World in Books. That was episode 1. This is episode 2. What fun. Anyway, okay, without any further ado, because this intro is getting way too long, let's just get into the books and go on to Ecuador. Hello and welcome to Ecuador. Kidding, we're still in my house in Bombay, but we are traveling to Ecuador through the book that I'm reading, or have finished reading actually, which is Cockfight by Maria Fernanda Ampuero, which is translated by Francis Riddle, who funnily enough translated one of my favorite books so far this year, which is Lena Knows, which I read actually just last month for a reading booktubers favorites book. So I will link you to that video if you want to check that one out. But let us talk about this book, which is Cockfight. And before we do that, however, I thought what would be interesting is that I will tell you a fun fact about each of the countries we visit together through these books, before I get into the actual thing about the books. I hope you understand what I meant, but cool. Anyway, fun fact about Ecuador, because this book is written by an Ecuadorian writer, is that they are bananas for bananas. They have more than 300 types of bananas, and bananas are very intricately linked into their like society. Also, they are the largest exporters of bananas, so that is just very interesting. I was just like, oh, cool. Anyway, point is, this book, I finished it. It was good. However, it's also very dark. So the writing is amazing and I can't believe that she is like a debut writer, because this is a debut collection of her short stories. They are all very short and they're all very, very dark. So they deal with really like troubling topics which women have to deal with on the regular. So most of the characters are women and the stuff that they've had to sort of deal with. A lot of these characters are also children, which is interesting because for me I was just like, oh, is she trying to like look at this terrible thing from like the eyes of an innocent, essentially. But yeah, as I said, very dark topics. A lot of topics include my least favorite topic, which is incest, which I was just like, I don't know, it gives me major ick. So I didn't love reading this, but I could see the merits in it. I think one of my favorite stories, however, was the last one, which is where this woman is looking at her life, like she's reflecting on her life through the contents of like what's in her trolley and at like a grocery store, and she's thinking about like her children and her life and her husband and all of that sort of stuff. And I just really liked the way that like that ended, and like I just think that is really interesting how we got to know about someone's life through the contents of like what's in their basket or trolley or whatever. So yeah, so I think that like this book is really good in terms of like writing and like concepts, etc. The content itself was just really difficult to read at points. However, I would recommend it only to people who can stomach these sort of like heavy, uh, terrible topics. So yeah, I think overall I would give this one a 3 to 3.5 to 4-star rating. But I do look forward to reading more from this author because I think that she is really good. So alright, hello and welcome to a new country. We are in Morocco / France because I finished a new book, which is The Perfect Nanny or Lullaby by Leïla Slimani. And Leïla Slimani is a French-Moroccan writer. So fun fact about Morocco, because we're doing the fun fact thing, is that in Moroccan culture, the symbol of love is not the heart, but the liver. Because for them, they think that liver means good digestion and promotes well-being, so it has to be the ultimate symbol of love. And they even have a saying that roughly translates to, "You have conquered my liver." So that's interesting. And then about France, which I thought was really fun, I was like, oh, should I say like something about them being the country that has the most amount of Nobel laureates in literature? But the best one that I found was that technically it was illegal till very recently for women to wear trousers in France. That's fun. But anyway, cool. I finished what's it called? Lullaby / The Perfect Nanny by Leïla Slimani, and I wanted to come and do a little check-in before, but yesterday we found out about Salman Rushdie and the things that happened to him. He was essentially stabbed by a terrorist, and if you know his past in general, you know that he has had a fatwa on his head for the past 30 odd years because of this book that he wrote called The Satanic Verses. I have read The Satanic Verses. Honestly, I did not understand much of it. I read it about like 5-6 years ago, and I just think that it has been, I don't know, I've just been at a loss of words just dealing with this whole situation, and I can't believe that such a thing is happening. So which is why I haven't been like in front of the camera and like talking and all of that sort of stuff, because I've just been like, oh. Anyway, but I finished the book and I wanted to talk to you about the book. And the book is interesting. I liked it quite a bit. I think I'm going to give it about a 4-star. It's basically about this French woman who becomes this nanny to this couple who are like middle class people. They have had 2 children, and the mother now wants to go back to becoming a lawyer because that's what she does. Because even though she loves her children, she gets really bored by like the life of just being a mother, and she wants to do more, and she has a lot of ambition and stuff like that. So they hire a nanny, and this nanny Louise, initially she seems like perfect, like she keeps the house together, she cooks for them, she keeps the children, and the children seem to like her and all of that sort of stuff. It seems like to be going amazing, but slowly as things go by, you start getting a little like, oh, things don't look quite right. And plus, in the very beginning, you find out that she has killed the children, and then we're seeing what happened that brought this about. So yeah, so you know that like the nanny isn't the greatest, but you're like, but she sounds great, she feels amazing, so what happened? And that's what we get to know through the story. So I would say in terms of characters and in terms of like atmosphere and building that, like this is like a solid like 9 on 10. Only thing that like sort of drove my ratings down a little bit would be like pacing wise. I feel like there could have been more that could have happened through that. But overall, I think that this book was really interesting. I don't think this book you should go in thinking that like it's going to be a thriller or whatever. Again, it's a character study, and it's very unnerving, and it's like a psychological sort of thing. So yeah, not great in terms of like pacing, but great in terms of like the character study. And the people in this book are very interesting and like are three-dimensional. They're not just like, oh, like black and white. There are a lot of grays in these characters as well. So I thought that that was really interesting and a really fun read. But yeah, that's my thought. For now, I am now going to leave you and go to another country. Don't know which one just yet, but see you in the next clip. Welcome to Egypt, or the land of pharaohs, and also the land of the first ever vibrator. Yeah, apparently, according to the fact that I learned a while back, actually, the first ever vibrator was made by Cleopatra back in the day, by basically putting a bunch of bees into a box and putting them close to her hoo-ha so that she could get off. So that's super fun and great information, and now it's going to be stuck in your head just like it was for so long in mine. Haha. Anyway, next we move on to the book that I actually am reading from Egypt, and that is The Queue by Basma Abdel Aziz, translated by Elisabeth Jaquette. I think that's how you pronounce this surname of hers. This book is really interesting because it's like dystopian satire. Essentially it follows like the Arab Spring events, like if you remember what the Arab Spring was. So the Arab Spring is essentially this time in like 2011 2012 where a bunch of Middle Eastern countries revolted against their current government, which was like mostly totalitarian and authoritarian. So yeah, a bunch of them were successful, a bunch of them were not, and we are following this unnamed country who has revolted, but then there was the old government has come back somehow. So the old government has come back and they have made it even worse. So now there is this thing called the wall, which is where their government now kind of hides behind. The ruler is no longer really like visible to people anymore, and how they communicate to people is now through just like messaging through government channels or like rules and regulations that come out. The media seems a little bought, and it just reminded me a lot of like not dystopian world but current world. So excellent. But yeah, essentially we're following all of that, and we are following another turn of events that had taken place. It's called the disgraceful event, I think, which is when there was a mini protest against the wall and the rules that the government was coming up with. So essentially that was quashed through like these quell force thingies, and there was this guy called Yaya who was watching it on like the outskirts. He just wanted to see what was happening, but he got shot by the quell force, and now he has a bullet in him for which he needs the permission of the government to get it out. However, the government is like, hey, fake news, we never actually had like guns and stuff for this like rebellion thingy. We just like, people were doing their own thing and we were just like looking at them like kill each other, and there were like suicides and stuff. So you know, the people that died wasn't really our fault, and like we didn't really use guns. So it's really difficult for Yaya to try to get permission from the government to remove this bullet, because like they're just not allowing that to happen because they don't want proof of like bullets being shot. So it's an interesting one. And essentially why it's called the queue is because the wall, which was constructed, which is by the government to hear people out, is shut now ever since that thing took place, where that rebellion of the disgraceful events. So there are just a bunch of people lining up outside waiting for these government employees to actually like hear them, because there are so many new rules that are coming out, there are problems that are happening, and the government just ain't listening and just instead just doing one way conversations of like rules and stuff like that. So yeah, we're following Yaya, we're also following a bunch of other people, we're following this doctor who is supposed to do his surgery, following like these other people in the line, like these women and like all of that sort of stuff. So there are a lot of characters being introduced to us with a lot of different sort of problems. So yeah, it's interesting for sure. I am liking it for now. I want to see where this goes. It feels very like not dystopian at all, and I think that's what these dystopian satire books are now, that they are just holding a mirror to society. And haha, it's freaking me out a little bit, because I'm like, haha, this is too true. But yeah, anyway, I'm getting a call now, so I'm gonna go and answer this, and then come back to you when I am done with the book. Okay. Hello? Why, yes, I did finish the book. Thank you for asking. Well, I'm gonna stop talking to my imaginary friend on my phone and instead talk to you, my camera. and yeah, anyway, point is, I finished The Queue by Basma, Abdel, Aziz, and I liked it quite a bit. I like reading about like politics and like how it affects people and all of that sort of stuff. So this dystopian like satirical book did it for me in terms of that, because like I could see a lot of what's happening in society right now in like various other countries including mine, and like how governments and bureaucracy is just fucking things up for us. Like it's just not a good time, and I could see a lot of like the things being reflected in this book, so it didn't really feel like dystopian. It felt very, very reminiscent of like stuff happening in lives right now, and just by those themes I would give it like a full like 4.5 to 5 stars. However, because there were so many characters, and because like I felt like they weren't so put together properly, like it was like they were connected, but also I don't know, pacing wise I felt like it faltered a little bit. So maybe it was that like I have been working a lot, so I haven't really been spending too much time with the book, hence like I felt like it was a little like dragged out maybe, but still overall it didn't like take away from my experience. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed what it had to say. There were quite a few things that happened also in the book, and like yeah, it was just an interesting fun time. If you think that it's going to be funny, it's not haha funny, because like satire you would think that like haha funny, it's not. It's more like haha, oh no, this is happening in real life, that sort of funny. So yeah, that's what I would say about this book. I think that I am intrigued by this author. I have heard that there is another book by her that has just come out this year or last year, that I really want to get to as well, because I liked her thoughts. So yeah, so I am gonna be doing that, but for now I'm gonna sleep because I need some beauty sleep in my life. So see you in the next country, whatever that is. Welcome to Slovakia, the country that has the most amount of castles and chateaus per capita. Basically, it's like for the amount of people that are in the country, they have the most amount of like chateaus and castles, which is amazing. Like, look at this pretty castle and that pretty castle. What a beautiful place to live in. But I just think that it's funny because the total population of Slovakia is 1/5 of the city that I live in. So the total population of the country is 1/5 of Bombay or Mumbai, which is just crazy. Like, I was just thinking when I was reading this like fun fact, I was just like, I wonder if the population of just my building complex is equal to like the population of a city in Slovakia. That would, yeah, it blows my mind sometimes. Moving on from population, let us talk about the book that I'm reading, which is this one, but you can't really see because I've taken off the dust jacket, because that's what I do when I'm reading like a hardcover book, but it is Boat Number 5 by Monika Kompaníková, translated by Janet Livingstone, and this is written in Slovak and translated to English, and I must shout out the publishers for this book and this translation of this book, because they are Seagull Books. They're based out of Calcutta and they are absolutely amazing. If you want to check out more like translations, they are the kings and queens of it. They come up with some amazing translations that you have probably never heard of ever in your life, and they're just overall amazing, great people. Highly recommend. I bought this book when they had like this discount thing last year, end of the year, sort of like Christmas sale sort of thingy, and just like I've been dying to read it because the concept just sounded so interesting, which is essentially of this young girl who kidnaps these two like children, twins, and then like stuff happens, which probably isn't great, and I am like halfway through it, not halfway through it, I'm a bit like 1/3 way through it, and I'm really enjoying it, guys, because it has one of my favorite tropes, which is like a really fucked up mother-daughter relationship. Like if you guys have read Burnt Sugar, or if you have read like Girl in White Cotton, or just like you like those frayed relationships, then this one just takes it to the next level, because holy shit, this mother-daughter relationship is a bit frayed. Yeah, it's a little fucked, but yeah, I am really enjoying it so far. The way that like it's being described, we are seeing the girl in current day, as well as her describing her being like a 10-year-old or a 12-year-old when this whole situation happened, and how she kind of grew up, and what her relationships therefore have been, how they've been shaped, and all of that sort of stuff. And it's interesting. There are some very unlikable characters, but they are very compelling, and I'm really enjoying reading about this. It's also very like descriptive, but anyway, that is just my thoughts so far. I haven't yet gotten to the part where she has taken the babies, but I will find out soon enough, I guess, what happens. Anyway, moving forward, now I am going to a quick getaway, literally like one day, with my other booktube friends, Jyotsna from Jyotsna's Bookscapades, and Shruti from Fandom Newbie. We are just literally going like 1 hour away from the city, and then like coming back the next day. So yeah, it's gonna be a fun trip. If I vlog it, then well, great, you get to see footage. If not, then it's just me telling you that this is happening. But yeah, hopefully we are going to be reading this, so I'm going to try to finish this book at that point of time. If I don't, then well, I will just come back to you when I finished it and tell you my thoughts. Okay. Hi Joy. Do you want to contribute to the chaos? She already did. She already did.
Into the place, I spat you from a ways. My heart, it started racing. The crowd across the way, flat was on your face, and then from the 80s, someone keeps blocking my way. I can't feel farther away. Wait on a moment to say that I want you. You know that I want you.
Okay, so I finished this book, and honestly, I think I want to give it a 5-star, because wow, this really like just got me out from left wing. I totally didn't see me enjoying it so much, but not in a way like where I was like, wow, I really love what's happening in this book. No, I did not like anything that was happening in this book, honestly. I was just like, oh, these kids are really fucked. But I still really enjoyed reading it, because essentially we know that something has happened, like that she's kidnapped these children, and then we know she's a 10-year-old, so we know that things aren't gonna go well, but we're like, what is gonna happen? And we see her like in today, and we see how like she's a little fucked in the head today as well, and like we see like her relationships that she's had with her grandmother and her mother, and like all of them just being really screwed up. But I enjoyed it. I was just like, oh. Also, like, I think I said this in my previous clip, but like, it's also like very atmospheric. So I could totally like see the places that she was describing. Like, basically, we just follow her and then this garden and this like little society that they live in. But like, I could totally understand the paths that she was describing and all of that sort of stuff. So I don't know, I just really liked the way that this was written and the story that it had to say. So I don't know if it's a full 5-star, to be honest, but I think it's like a really high 4.5, but I think I'm just gonna give it a 5-star just because I am so surprised by it. And just like, if you like unlikable characters, if you like fraught relationships and like just reading about messed up lives, not in like a little life sort of way, but in like a, oh, this is just human behavior and it sucks, you know, then this is a book for you. I would highly suggest that you pick it up. It does go in and out of like different timelines, like without really saying that. So I think if that's something that you are sort of afraid of or don't like seeing, then this could be a con for you in terms of that. But I honestly didn't think that it was that bad. I don't have an issue with it per se. But yeah, that would be literally the only con that I could think of. Like literally like within the page, it would just go from like past to like now. And yeah, but overall, absolutely amazing. What a find. Just what a find. I love it. Love it. So yeah, boat number 5 by Monika Kompaníková. Absolute banger. A1. Amazing. Just yeah. And now we move on to another country. So I must see you in the other country that I want to introduce to you in literally 1 second. Alright, welcome to Ukraine. We are literally dressed the same, but like there's a different light, so that's fun. Fact about Ukraine that you probably maybe don't know is that the war is still going on there. So Russia is still attacking Ukraine. Things are not as great as we think that it is, just because we don't hear of it anymore. In fact, today is actually the Ukrainian Independence Day. So all I would say is read up about Ukraine and what's happening there. Be more informed if you aren't already. They still do need our help. So like if you feel like it and if you can, then I have linked some like donation links down below for you to check out. And if you can't donate yourself, then you can spread the word to other people who can, so they can help this country out. The book that I'm reading is Lucky Breaks by Yevgenia I can't even try. You will just see it here. And the translator is Eugene Ostashevsky. Yeah. And this is a collection of short stories. Yevgenia is essentially a like journalist and a photojournalist. So this is a collection of short stories that she took of the women who she saw during in like 2014, 2016, I think, when Russia invaded Ukraine before and tried to take the Donbass area of Ukraine. And like, yeah, so she basically went there and like spoke to people and got like all of these stories and stuff like that, I think. So yeah, so that's what this book is about. It's a collection of short stories about the women in Ukraine. So I'm excited to read and I will let you know how I get along. We might have a problem because I want to DNF this book so bad. I don't understand anything happening in this book. Like, I just don't understand. I don't know if it's a problem of the translator because he keeps using words like interlocker and whatever. I'm just like, why can't he just, like, I'm sure there are easier ways to say this. But yeah, I am really not liking it. I don't know what's happening. But let me try to read more short stories. So I'll try to read 3 to 4 more short stories. And if in the next 3 short stories I find one short story that I like even a little bit, I'll continue reading. If I get 3 short stories in a row that I do not like, I must stop. I think that makes sense, right? Okay, that was fine. I can continue. That was also sort of okay. Okay, 3 in a row have been sort of okay. The last one I actually kind of liked. So, is it getting better now? I'm hoping that it's getting better now. I don't even understand the point of that story. Why? Alright, we are at the end. I have finished reading Lucky Breaks, and unfortunately it is not going to be a book for me. I thought that there were some short stories in this that were really good. Like there was one called Stars that really stuck with me, which was about like these Ukrainian people that were dealing with like shellings, and they would go according to like their horoscopes, and if it said from this time to this time you're safe, so they would go out for walks, and they just had this belief that like they would be okay because the horoscope said so. And it was about this one person who did that and met another person, and it was a good story. And I feel like a lot of the stories were good in terms of like trying to explain what people went through during this time, and how like the war has really affected them, and like how it has been a really troubled time for like them all, and especially with whatever's going on right now. I know that that's happening again, if not like in a worse sort of way. So I think that this book is really important. I just feel that perhaps and this is just like me spitballing, because I mean, I've read a lot of like translated books before, that maybe the translator didn't do like such an amazing job, because there were a lot of like complicated words that didn't need to like be there, like in terms of like the way that it was conveying it. So I don't know what was like particularly wrong about this one, but like there were a lot that just didn't strike a chord with me. So that's okay, that happens. There were some that did, and I'm glad to have read this book, but unfortunately I wouldn't like wholeheartedly recommend this one. So like, you know, if you can get it from your library or whatever and you want to skip through a few, then what I'll do down in the description is that I'll put down all the stories that I did like, so you can just go to those stories and read them if you like want to, you know what I mean? But yeah, that's all I have to say about this one. Unfortunately, it's really sad. So if you have any more like Ukrainian book recommendations, do let me know, because I would love to read more from the country. And just like, yeah, that's all for now. Now we're gonna go back home, so I'll see you at home. Alright, welcome back. Wasn't that an amazing journey that you took with me? We traveled all over. We went from Ecuador to Morocco to Egypt to Slovakia to Ukraine and back now. Oh my god, what a journey we've had. So let's just rank the books in like what I think is going to be my official ranking. So I think number 1 has to be boat number 5. I thought that this book was really fucked up, but in an excellent way. It really came out of left wing for me, where it like completely surprised me. I'd never really like heard of this before, and like what a great book in terms of atmosphere and everything. Another great book in terms of atmosphere and just like creepiness vibes was The Perfect Nanny by Leïla Slimani, which is going to come next for me, I think. This is a book from Morocco/France, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. I know that a lot of people have said that like the endings was a little like ambiguous. I didn't think so. I mean, we're pretty like clear what happens, right? So yeah, I still really liked it. Again, go into it thinking that it is going to be a like character study, not a thriller, and then you'll enjoy it more. 3, I'm gonna put The Queue by Basma, Abdel, Aziz from Egypt. I really enjoyed this one. Again, I thought that it was a good, fun read in terms of the like politics and in terms of like the dystopia that was spoken about, and just like bureaucracy and stuff like that. So if that's something that interests you, then definitely check that one out. Next, I'm gonna have to put Cockfight from Ecuador, because I really liked this author and the way she wrote. out. This is her first book that has come out, so this is her debut collection, and she talks a lot about like some really intense topics which didn't gel with me. Like, I don't want to read about incest, but like, it's cool. It was really good in terms of like just plain penmanship, so appreciate that. And I think the last one, unfortunately, is going to have to be Lucky Breaks for me, because I didn't like it. I think honestly it has to be like the translator's fault and all of that sort of stuff, but I don't know. I am looking to read more from Ukraine, so if you have any suggestions or just suggestions in general for women in translation, please do let me know down in the description, because I would love to get your recommendations. And overall, if you enjoyed this, then do give it a thumbs up and subscribe to me if you already have not. It would be great if you support me through that means. Also, as I have said, description down below is ways if you can support Ukraine in like the stuff that they're going through, so do check that out as well. Just yeah, that's all for now. I will see you in my next video. Bye.